Hi, I'm Danny and these are my Diecast Disasters. In this video I'm going to be restoring and customizing a Matchbox Peterbilt wreck truck. These were produced from 1982 until 99 and they're another version of the Peterbilt truck. He used it for a few different models, including the semi-rigs and a tanker version. This is a police version with the orange booms there. These were made from 86 till 89. So it's looking pretty rough. Missing a lot of chrome off the base there. It's missing the top of the stacks. Those boom arms are still there in great condition. That's a real plus. A lot of them are just missing the arms altogether. So yeah, it's all there, but cosmetically looking fairly rough. So let's crack on and take it apart. There's two posts in the base that need to be drilled out. And then it slots in at the front, and it also has some tabs at the back. There we go. Now I can take the wheels out. And the stacks and interior with the little guy on them. And the booms come out. They were held in by the base. And finally I pop out the windscreen. And there's our casting ready for paint stripper. So there's the paint stripper wrinkling all the paint off. And of course I can just give it a rinse in some water. This is how it came out. So it's looking pretty clean, a few scraps of paint and the usual oxidation. I give it a good tidy up with the wire brush on my Dremel. There we go, that's looking nice and clean and shiny now. It's a fairly clean casting, but there are a couple of big horrible sprue marks or whatever they are up the top here. So I'll give them a tidy up. Start out taking the bulk off with a straight burr on my Dremel. Then I move on to a needle file. There we go, that's got the bulk of the metal off. Now I can keep tidying it up a bit. Here it is after the first round of sanding and filing. It's looking pretty good, but there's a couple of little tiny dents in there. So I'm just going to use a little bit of this thick Starbond super glue to fill them. Then once that had cured, I went back to a little bit of filing and sanding. And here it is after I'd finished. You can see where the super glue's filling those little dents in there. And one last thing before I move on to painting it, I'll just drill and tap the posts. There we go, now I can put it back together with some screws later on. Now on to painting. I start out with a coat of black primer. Now after looking at a few pictures of these online, I've decided to paint mine a candy blue. So I start out with a coat of aluminium. And then it was given 4 coats of candy blue. I It's looking pretty much just how I wanted it. I do a bit of detailing, the horns and the tanks and stuff. So I'm going to move on to the base now. I'm going to want to take off that old worn out chrome paint. So I use a little bit of hot water with some caustic soda in it. Here it is after 30 seconds or so. You can see all that chrome's pretty much dissolved away. I give it a rinse in some fresh water. This is what it looked like. It's already black, but I want a good base for painting my next layer of chrome over, so I hit it with some black primer. And then it's finished with some chrome. Moving on to the interior and the exhaust stacks there. So you can see they're missing the tops of them, so that's going to have to be the first thing that I fix. I start out giving them a little bit of a tidy up. I just scrape the casting lines off the sides there, and then I cut the tops of them flat. To replace the pipes at the top, I've got some styrene rod here, so I'm just kind of cut a couple of short lengths of that. Then I flattened one end and just slightly rounded the other end, and I use some super glue to glue them on. Once the glue had fully cured, it was given a coat of black primer. And then a nice coat of chrome. And on my last Peterbilt, I detailed the guy with a red shirt and some blue jeans. On this one, I figured he's probably working for the tow company, so he's got his blue overalls on. Onto the boom arms now. They're in great condition, but I don't want them to be orange, so I give them a good clean in some hot water. And then I hit them with some black primer. And then I finish them with some Vallejo metal colour steel. Here is the windscreen. This is in pretty good nick. It's not even really a scratch on it. It's a bit grubby, maybe a tiny bit of scuffing there. So I give it a quick polish with some plastic polish and buffing, and this is how it came out looking. It has to look pretty much brand new. And finally the wheels. So I didn't have any nicer wheels to replace it, and everybody seems to really like these wheels that are on the convoys. These aren't in the greatest condition, but they're not in the worst. I give the axles a decent buffing with a wire brush, and I'll just reuse them. I'm not going to retouch them with chrome because I think I'll just probably make them all look more messy. And so here are all the parts of our Matchbox Peterbilt wreck truck, refurbished, repainted and ready to go back together. While I reassemble that, let's just take a moment to look back and be reminded of what we started with. Here it is, all the way from the mid-80s, our Matchbox Peterbilt police wreck truck, tow truck. Looking well scruffy there, missing plenty of paint and chrome. It's got those ugly orange boom arms. Let's see what we can do with it. And here it is, after our strip down and makeover. Our Peterbilt wreck truck has been given a major tidy up and a repainting in that cool looking candy blue. I did do my last Peterbilt in blue as well. I think it just really suits them. It's also been detailed a bit. I've done the horns and the lights up top there, and also the rear tail lights and the tanks. That scruffy looking base and grille has been cleaned up and re-chromed. The broken exhaust stacks have been fixed and re-chromed. The boom arms painted a much cooler looking steel colour, and of course the little guy detailed inside. So I reckon it's looking heaps better. You can let me know what you think in the comments down below. And they're a pretty common little toy. I bet plenty of people owned these. Unfortunately, those hooks don't move and they don't actually tow a car very well. You can hook the trucks onto them okay though. Before I go, I'll just say a massive thanks to my awesome Patreon supporters for helping to support the channel through Patreon. If you'd like to help out as well, you can check out my Patreon page. There's a link in the description down below. Thanks heaps for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you'd like to see more similar stuff, remember to subscribe and click the bell, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends.